guys, it's Brandy, aka Momability. It still feels really weird to say that. The channel name is Momability. I don't really go by that on a normal day basis. However, here we are. It feels so weird to say that. Anyway, for those of you that are new here, I have partial paralysis. I have been wheelchair bound for like 13, 14 years. I don't know, since the age of 21. I am 35 years old now. I have never told the story as to like how I became wheelchair bound in the first place. I've hinted at it, maybe like wrote a little bit in a description box on a video here and there, but I've never actually like sat down and told the story. So that's what we're gonna do today, and I've tried to film this video multiple times. I filmed it last night, started to edit it, didn't like it. I tried to film it twice before Christmas, and I don't know, I try to make the content kind of like light and fun, and like I kind of poke fun at myself, like with my drop foot, maybe the scars on my back, or me trying to climb a ladder. And it's like my way of coping with it. Like I've accepted myself of having to be in the wheelchair. That took me a majority of my 20s, but that's something I can go deep into, like the whole process of that throughout my 20s. Because the first video I did was really just kind of an overview of everything. Anyhow, I apologize, I'm not all like dressed up for you and stuff. I am in my pajamas. I am not a matching pajama kind of girl. I am a sweatpants and t-shirt kind of girl. I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I can't exactly film these videos midday because I'm taking care of them, and it's important to me to be present with them during the day. I can't exactly film like something like this midday, so I have to wait till after they go to bed. At least my 3-year-old. This is what we got, this is what we're working with, and this is what we're rolling with. So thanks for being here. Here is the story of how I became wheelchair bound. For this all to kind of like tie together, I gotta go like back a bit. Like I promise, I'm starting at 3, but we're not going through all that. Ever since I was 3 years old, I fell in love with horses. My mom introduced me to horses. I was out there on lead line, showing in lead line. As I got older and things progressed, I was obsessed. It's all I wanted to do. I competed in hunter jumpers all the way from the age 3 to 21. It was my passion. I loved it. Like I lived for it. Like during summers in between school, I wasn't like hanging out with friends. You know, I was always at my trainer's house. It's a very expensive sport, so I was grateful enough that my parents could provide that for me, so I could even do the sport, because a lot of people don't have that, and I realized that. I had a couple of my own horses, so you know that requires having to pay board. So I would go to my trainers for the summer, and I'd work off whatever I could work off, whatever she wanted me to do. Whether that was keep the school horses in shape, ride all the green horses, clean stalls, you know, whatever she needed me to do. Anything that could help bring down lesson cost and board and all that stuff. And then I got to show like every weekend and every Thursday, and then, you know, locally, and then if there was any big shows, then, you know, those are our whole circuit shows, are week-long events. That was my #1 passion. However, when I graduated high school, I had to find like a sustainable income, right? You know, I'm kind of freaking out. What am I gonna do? Don't really know what I want to do with my life. The girl that did my hair and my mom's hair, like I really liked the whole dynamic in the salon she owned, and so she offered me a job as a shampoo girl, and I went there working as a shampoo girl, not knowing like that I wanted to do hair or makeup or anything like that. I just needed a job, and I liked the environment and the atmosphere and all that. So I started out as a shampoo girl, fell in love with it. She allowed me to do an apprenticeship. The apprenticeship, I think it was a 3,000-hour apprenticeship, you know, hands-on, where she's training me. My license in cosmetology at the age of 21. So like, I'm feeling good. You know, I think I'm doing good. I've got my license in cosmetology at the age of 21. And when I graduated high school, I didn't even know what I wanted to do. And I was renting my own condo with my long-term boyfriend at the time. So I had my own place, you know, I was building my career, you know, I felt pretty good. However, me being me, you know, just had to throw a little wrench in all that, you know, because horses was my #1 passion, right? So I was like, in my brain, I was like, okay, I have secured my license in cosmetology, so I have something legitimate I can fall back on. How about we see if I can make a career and a living, in the show world and doing hunters and jumpers, because that's what I love, my number one love. So why not? I'm still young. Let's try this. I literally quit my job at the salon like same day. Like this was all same day. Very spontaneous. No well thought out of any of it at all. Yeah. So there's that. Luckily, within the same week, my boyfriend at the time, he was working for a farm doing like maintenance and stuff. And the girl that ran one of the barns there, she offered me a job. And luckily, she had excellent connections. So I went to work for her. So within that same week, I had another job. So I'm like, okay, cool. However, I realized, which I knew going into this, I wasn't going to make the same amount of money, especially not just being like a catch rider and a working student and what she needed me to do, but I was going to, try to work my way back up. I was talented. I was fairly well known in my area, probably from, heck, 5th grade to all the way graduating high school, because all I did was compete. But, long story short, I was still very stressed because I'm thinking about money. I have my own condo. I'm living with my boyfriend at the time, and we have bills to pay. I wasn't bringing in the same amount of income. So I'm like awake at night, like thinking about this like constantly. And so I wasn't getting a lot of sleep. I was very stressed out. Did I make the right decision to try to follow my dreams? I'm second guessing myself. And driving to the barn one day, it's my job to feed the horses breakfast that particular morning, and I remember feeling like super sleepy. I was running a little bit late, and I just remember thinking to myself, like, I should get over. I'll just get over in the slow lane and just cruise, like no rush. And that is the last thing that I clearly remember. And everything else is going to be like kind of second hand. What the witnesses told the police officers and what they told my parents. Let's get one thing out of the way. Nobody else was involved, okay? It was just me. Okay, with that being the last thing that I remembered, I just fell asleep. I mean, that's the only thing anyone can come up with. Like, I had to have just fallen asleep. And when I fell asleep, and I was speeding. I'm just gonna keep it real, So once I fell asleep at the wheel, I think that my foot probably went down on the pedal even more. All right, and I'm already speeding. Okay, we're just gonna be honest here. Then I'm going even faster, and I might have like turned the wheel, or I just veered off. Regardless, the whole highway is lined with a whole wooded area, and I just veered off like way back into the trees. And I remember being told that if witnesses did not see me veer off into the road, like nobody would have seen me. Nobody. I was so far back there that if you're just driving down the highway, you wouldn't have seen my car. So that could have been a whole nother problem. But luckily, witnesses did see me. They called 911, and eventually, as I'm going back through the woods, I just square on, hit a tree, going high rates of speed. And it's just like whiplash all the way down my spine, just like crack, 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 crack. I always wear my seatbelt. And I was not wearing my seatbelt this particular day. Now, maybe that was a good thing. Maybe it was a bad thing, but here's why. The whole front end of the car was completely smashed in. So if I was in my seatbelt in the front seat, like I could have very easily just been squished, okay? I have flashes of being like on top of the seats. But it's so hard to like remember. I try so hard to remember sometimes, and then other times I'm very grateful that I don't remember. Luckily, the witnesses saw me back there, called 911, ambulance, fire department, and I know they had to use the jaws of life to get me out of the car because it was just destroyed, completely destroyed. They also brought in a helicopter because, okay, my injuries on the outside, yes, where there's some cuts and scrapes and whatnot, yes. However, all my injuries were internally. They had to medevac me to hospital further. I don't know. I can probably say the hospital because I don't live out there. I don't know. They took me to a very specific hospital that could better handle my type of injuries, and they had to call in a surgeon. I don't remember the helicopter ride. I don't even remember hearing the sounds. Like, I truly try to think about it. Like, do I remember hearing the chopper or having to be lifted all the way up? Like, I don't remember any of that, and quite honestly, probably a good thing, because I was in a lot of pain. Once I'm at the hospital, obviously my mom, see, I could go into the whole thing about like when they called my parents, but I think that should be like another separate video, because I'm not trying to get emotional right now, quite honestly. The other times I tried to film this video, like, I got very upset thinking about that, because it didn't affect me then. It affects me now because I have children now, and I'm just trying to get this out. Both of my parents were working close to the hospital they flew me into, so they met me there. I don't remember seeing them, but I was so in and out. Like, I was constantly losing consciousness. I think my body was so overwhelmed with pain that I just kept passing out. And honestly, thank the Lord. Because I don't think I'd be able to handle it, because the times I was awake, like, my parents told me that I was just screaming so much, and my dad was like, can you just give her something? And I'm already on max amount of pain meds. I believe my parents told me that the hospital thought that I only had maybe 1 or 2 breaks in my back. However, once the surgery, I had to go into emergency surgery, and once the surgeon was in there and he patched me up the best he could, I actually had 8 breaks, 8 fractures, and one of those particular breaks was so shattered there was no patching it up. I had quite a bit of hardware in my back. For the emergency surgery, I had 2 titanium rods the full length of my back, lots of screws. And the place that was shattered, I still today, but they put in a bracket. That was not a spot that was ever going to be able to heal. There was hope that the other breaks were more that, like, they could heal over time. Would still have pain and discomfort, it was never going to be the same, but it was mainly that one spot that was just so shattered that there was pretty much not much hope for. And so once the surgeon came out, he told my parents, like, no, what are you talking about, a couple of breaks? Like, she has 8 fractures in her back. That's when things get like really real, because it's like my spinal cord was damaged. It was like kind of pinched and squished enough to where, like, spinal cord fluid was just coming out. I really liked my surgeon, though. I saw him for like 5 or 6 years, once a month, after all this was said and done. But yeah, it was a car accident. I fell asleep at the wheel, and a lot of my decisions, like, leading up to that moment, could have been different. But it's what happened. So ultimately, it was just a big accident. I think I'm out there trying to, like, follow my dreams. I've got a backup plan, and and I got hit with a curveball. When I woke up, they had to tell me several times what had happened. I just kept losing memory. My memory eventually came back, but just with the trauma. I also had 3 broken ribs, and obviously head trauma. But they were mainly focused on the injuries in my back, to where sometimes I even forget about those other injuries. So once I could comprehend what happened to me, they do a test on you where it's like this sharp little pen thing that they start at your toes or the top of your thigh and move it all the way down your legs and ask you, can you feel this? Can you feel that? And yes, no. And back then, I couldn't feel a lot. I had some sensation in areas. I think I was on, like, so many meds at the time because I needed to be. I was in severe pain. My body just went through so much trauma that, like, it wasn't sinking in what really had happened. Like, I wasn't going to have the use of my legs anymore. But the first time I was really like, oh, like, this is for real, is I remember, I think they had put my legs up kind of bent to do the test. And like, I let go or something, and I remember my right leg just boom, just doing its own thing. I had no control over it whatsoever, and then that's when I'm really like, oh, But it wasn't really until I got to physical therapy and they started testing out like my body's limitations and hey, do this, hey, do that, where I really started to have a hard time. So I think I will make another video, because that's going to be long, about the whole physical therapy journey and my fight against it. That was hard. That was hard. And I think a lot of people don't know, because they see me move my legs so much today. I don't think they realize that when all this first happened, I could not move my legs at all. I physically had to pick them up and move them to get them to do anything. So I can talk about like the mobility I got back over time, the physical therapy journey, and all that in another video. So that's the story. And I just want to say, I just want to give like kind of a shout out and thanks to those of you that are engaging with the content. I think we're such like a little small channel right now that I probably see like 98% of the comments. And so if you're going to take time out of your day, engage with the content and write a comment, then I'm going to try to give you the same back. I try to message almost everybody back as much as I can, because if you're going to take time out of your day to do that for my video and put your opinions or your thoughts on something, then I want to give you that back in return. And right now I think we're small enough that I'm able to keep up with that. If you have any comments, because I know I kind of like coast over things and kind of give like an overview. So if you want any details on anything that I talked about today or have any questions for me, like please drop it in the comments below. If you're genuinely curious, I don't have a problem answering your questions if you have any. Like, I mean, as long as you're just not being rude. Like, I'm cool. I'm okay with it. So thank you guys. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you're not subscribed. I really am trying to grow this channel. It means a lot to me. I'm working on it the best I can. So until next time, thank you for watching and thanks for being here. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.